head and then begin.
Hello, and good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this edition of SANE Talks. My name is Jeffrey Frazier, and I am both your moderator for this session and the Assistant Director of Laboratory Outreach at St. Elizabeth Healthcare. I have been given the distinct pleasure and honor to host this month's short and informative session entitled The Results Are In, highlighting what I feel is one of the most critical and important areas of any health system, the laboratory. As you can imagine, the laboratory is an integral part of providing care to patients. Laboratory medicine is a vital part of public health. Medical laboratory testing plays a crucial role in the early detection, diagnosis, and treatment of disease in patients and populations, like we have all been witnessing to over the past year. Our laboratory is like no other. We are part of a 6-hospital health system providing lab services to our providers and the community that we serve. Today, I am privileged to bring just a few of our professional and talented laboratory associates together to give you an overview of our incredible laboratory, what it takes to work in a laboratory, what training and educational requirements are needed to be a medical laboratory scientist. And as we wrap this up, you will get to hear from one of many talented associates on his experience with St. Elizabeth. Now, without further ado, let us get started. I'm excited to hear more, and I hope you are too. I would first like to introduce you to Miss Alicia Graves. Alicia is one of our leaders in the laboratory. Hi, Alicia, how are you today?
Good, thanks, Jeffrey. Thanks for having us on here today.
Absolutely.
Okay, again, my name is Alicia Graves, and I am the Director of Laboratory Services for PLP, which stands for Preferred Lab Partners. This is a joint venture lab that was formed in 2018 by St. Elizabeth in Northern Kentucky and the Tri-Health Healthcare System in Southwestern Ohio and the greater Cincinnati metropolitan area. This joint venture was formed as a need and a want to be able to increase efficiencies and increase and gain knowledge and quality so we can serve our patients on both sides of the Ohio River. My story, how did I get to where I am? So I went to a university that had a 3+1 program for the medical laboratory science profession. I did my year clinical rotation here at the St. Elizabeth School of Medical Technology. When I graduated, I got a second shift generalist position, worked for that for a year. Then there was a microbiology lab position open, and it was my passion. So I was very excited to take on that job. I proceeded, worked up my way in that department as a bench tech and then a lead technologist, supervisor, and then I've actually was a manager for the last 5 years over the microbiology and the molecular microbiology laboratory. And very recently, I've transitioned into the director role at St. Elizabeth, and I'm super excited to move on with that, my future. Thanks, Jeffrey.
Thanks, Alicia. Thank you for going over your title, your role in the laboratory at St. Elizabeth, and how you got into that position. So, Alicia, what makes the St. Elizabeth Laboratory a great place to work?
So yeah, I've been here for 28 total years now, so it's probably an okay place to work if I've stood here this long. And again, I'd probably say it's the commitment to its employees. St. Elizabeth cares and values its employees as much as it cares and values its patients. The best example that I can give is what's happened over the last 16 months with COVID. St. Elizabeth has kept all of its employees and maintained them all whole. What I mean by that is during the whole entire COVID pandemic, we had no layoffs, no furloughs, no forced PTO or VTO. We didn't have any forced retirements. On top of that, St. Elizabeth still maintained and distributed our tenure increases for the year 2020 and 2021. We also have a gain sharing program throughout the system, and they also awarded us funds for 2020 and 2021. For what was happening in our community, our country, and the world, and the financial impact that COVID had on everything and everyone around us, that is truly amazing. And again, it sets an example and shows the commitment they have to their employees. So I'm very thankful for that for St. Elizabeth. The lab specifically, why is it the great place to work? We here at St. Elizabeth and PLP, we have the latest technologies and state-of-the-art automation across our whole entire lab system. St. Elizabeth and PLP, again, they are committed to providing us those resources in order to be able to have these technologies and develop high efficiencies and quality work so we can serve our patients and provide positive outcomes for our patients.
Thank you for that. And I couldn't agree with you more. St. Elizabeth Laboratory is a great place to work. So can you tell us what makes a quality medical laboratory scientist?
I'm going to go over 5 words with you that St. Elizabeth uses as part of their values and what we kind of live by here at St. Elizabeth. I care. I, innovation. C, collaboration. A, accountability. R, respect. And E, excellence. So back to the innovation. Do you have flexibility? Do you have adaptability? Do you have organizational skills? Are you a multitasker? Can you always look for ways to improve your processes and qualities? Are you encouraged, and can you be encouraged, and do you encourage new ideas? Can you embrace change? Can you change on the fly, which we all had to do during COVID? You can ask anybody in the entire system, whether it's laboratory or elsewhere, we all had to be on our toes and change as COVID developed. Collaboration. Are you a team player? Are you teamwork? Are you good with working with other people, but can you at the same time work by yourself if needed? Can you communicate with people inside your lab as well as feel comfortable talking to people outside the lab, say in another department, whether it's a nurse or a doctor or a respiratory therapist or a unit person on the floor? Accountability. Can you view challenges as opportunities? Can you hold yourself to a high standard to become an expert in your discipline? You think about decisions that affect others. Can you accept constructive criticism when there might be an issue and view as a learning opportunity and always stay positive? Respect. Respect your profession. Respect yourself. Take pride in your work. Respect your coworkers. Respect their differences. Respect their views. And also think about what you're doing for the patient and know in the end that you're trying to do everything that you can to take care of that patient. So respect them as well. And finally, E, for excellence. Be proud of this profession. Again, we all came into this profession for a reason. I specifically wanted to take care of patients, but didn't necessarily wanted to be front and center with them. And I'm very proud of the work that we do. Become a subject matter expert. Pick your passion. I picked microbiology. I love it. I still will. I probably always will continue to love microbiology, but learn all that you can. Be a consultant for a physician. That statement was made last week just in the graduation ceremony for our students that just graduated. And I thought that word, it just was drawn. It came out to me. Be a consultant. I mean, it's very important, the knowledge that you have and what you can give to the physicians to take care of their patients. So I'll finish up with St. Elizabeth and PLP. As Jeffrey said, we're a large healthcare system with multiple labs throughout all of our hospitals. Whether you want a high volume, fast-paced laboratory, whether you want a smaller, maybe lower volume, but stat testing for acute care laboratory, we are 24/7, 365 days a year. We serve the tri-state region. So I encourage you to research this profession and consider St. Elizabeth as maybe your place, your home, to gain and share that knowledge. Thanks a lot, Jeffrey.
Thank you, Alicia. Thank you for sharing all of that information with our audience. Next, I would like to introduce you to Ms. Tracy Kraus. Hi, Tracy, how are you?
Hi, Jeffrey.
So Tracy, what is your role and title in the laboratory, and how did you get to your position?
My title was actually Laboratory Education Coordinator, and I also serve as the Program Director for the St. Elizabeth Healthcare School of Medical Laboratory Science. I have a bachelor's degree in medical laboratory science. I too was a 3+1 student, and I have worked on the bench as a medical laboratory science for the bulk of my bench career in immunohematology, which is also known as blood bank and cellular therapies. And I returned to the College of Mount St. Joseph for a master's degree in education, and that is actually required to serve in my current position. And I've been with St. Elizabeth for 5 years now.
Great. Thank you for highlighting all of that for us. So what are the educational requirements to work in a laboratory as a medical laboratory scientist?
Okay, a medical laboratory scientist does require a bachelor's degree with 30 semester hours of science. And there are actually 2 routes to certification through the American Society of Clinical Pathology. And both routes require a student to attend training at a National Accrediting Agency of Clinical Laboratory Science program in medical laboratory science. So the first route is known as a 3+1, and this entails attending 3 years of college or university and 1 year during the senior year in a clinical program. Some colleges and universities offer their own NACLS program where the student actually gets the senior year instruction at the university with some clinical rotations in hospitals. Other colleges and universities are affiliated with hospital-based programs, and so the entire senior year is spent embedded in a hospital program where the lectures and clinical instruction are provided on site. The second route is known as a 4+1. And the 4+1 is for students who do not attend a college or university that offers a degree in medical laboratory science. So for those students who get a Bachelor of Science degree in chemistry, biology, physics, or microbiology, they then have the necessary science background to attend a NACLS program for medical laboratory science. And so that becomes a post-bachelor certificate program. But by either doing the 3+1 route or the 4+1 route, a person is qualified to sit for the ASCP certification exam. And passage of that exam is needed to work as a medical laboratory scientist at St. Elizabeth.
Thank you, Tracy, for that. So what training is offered at St. Elizabeth to prepare a student to work as a medical laboratory scientist?
St. Elizabeth Healthcare School of Medical Laboratory Science has actually been in existence since 1950, and it is a NACLS accredited program. We are currently affiliated with Miami University, Thomas More University, Purdue University, and Western Kentucky University to serve as a senior year of college for students pursuing a Bachelor's of Science degree in medical laboratory science. We are able to add additional affiliates if we're given about approximately a 1 year's notice. We also accept 4+1 students. And our program is 11 months long. It starts in July, and we have a 2-week break between Christmas and New Year's with graduation in mid to late June. And our program is roughly divided into thirds. So from July to October, it is heavy on content knowledge in clinical chemistry, phlebotomy, hematology, coagulation, urinalysis, and immunology. And then the second third, we cover the content knowledge in blood bank and microbiology. But during that instruction, we also have a large student laboratory for practice on the actual performance of the testing. And then finally, the last third of our year is 16 weeks of clinical instruction. And that is when students rotate through all the departments working one-on-one with staff members actually performing real patient testing. Students rotate for 12 weeks here at Edgewood and the PLP, which is our largest volume testing laboratory. They also spend 4 weeks at a smaller immediate response laboratory at both Florence and Fort Thomas, and then a few additional days at some of our smaller stat laboratories at both Edgewood and Covington. In addition, we have hired some staff members who are Bachelor of Science degree associates with strong chemistry and biology backgrounds as lab assistants in microbiology. And these associates had a strong desire to perform diagnostic testing in microbiology, so those associates are able to attend 15 weeks of training in immunology and microbiology, which qualifies them to sit for the ASCP Microbiology Technologist certification exam.
Great. Thank you, Tracy, for covering all of that educational and useful information. It is exciting for sure. Lastly, I would like to introduce you to Mr. Thomas Payne, Lab Assistant. How are you doing today, Thomas?
I'm doing well, Jeffrey. Thank you.
So Thomas, could you please share your experience with St. Elizabeth Healthcare?
Yeah, so my experience with St. E's actually started about 3 years ago, and I started out as a lab assistant. And I was an undergrad when I started working on a chemistry degree. And as a lab assistant, we kind of do a lot of pre-analytical processing of specimens. So making sure, the specimen's been spun, it's not grossly hemolyzed or clotted. And then we also answer the phone a lot, kind of directing provider and patient questions, getting them answers and helping them get answers to their questions. And then also kind of helping the medical laboratory scientists any way to make their job easier and so they can focus on putting out quality patient results. And so I worked as a lab assistant during undergrad, and after I graduated, I actually spent a year working for my family's tree and lawn company. But fortunately, I was strongly encouraged by my manager to keep picking up weekends in the lab at St. E's. And kind of towards the end of that year, I took off. That's when COVID really started to spread in our community. And at first, most of that COVID testing was done by kind of more specialized reference labs. And one of the primary labs we utilized wasn't interfaced with our IT system. So what that meant is really the two systems didn't talk to each other. And somebody had to, well, a whole team had to be responsible for entering those results manually from one system into the other and kind of translating that patient information as well. And what this meant is that there's all this manual data entry that had to occur, and I was able to be part of that team doing that data entry, and then also to be part of the team kind of ensuring the quality of that process. And it was a really amazing experience to be focused on, helping with that patient care. And that experience led to me, with a little bit of cajoling from some coworkers, to applying and being accepted into the St. Elizabeth School of Medical Laboratory Science, where I've spent the past year experiencing and receiving an education in the various departments of the clinical lab that Tracy mentioned. And it's been a really, really intense but valuable year to see the hospital. And so now, in a couple weeks, I get to further my career with St. E's and in the clinical lab and start working in our toxicology as a medical laboratory scientist. Just kind of, to close, I always really wanted a career that I could be passionate about. And it took a little while for me to find it, but working for St. E's has given me the opportunity and means to find a career that I'm thrilled to continue with in a few weeks. So, thank you.
Great. Thanks, Thomas. That was a great overview of your past, your education, your experiences with the MLS program. Thank you for wrapping all of that up and giving our audience an overview of your education, involvement, and pursuit in a laboratory career. Wow, I don't know about you, but that was very informative and a great summary of our St. Elizabeth Healthcare Laboratory. A special thanks to Alicia, Tracy, and Thomas for their information. I hope you can see, as I do, the passion, purpose, and pride each of them has in their rewarding careers in the laboratory. You too can have this opportunity to work for a health system that is committed to their patients, their associates, and the community. We are St. Elizabeth Healthcare. Thank you for your time and for your interest in learning more about our laboratory and St. Elizabeth Healthcare. We hope you have a great day.